Awaken to Happiness Now. I'm honored to have you join me on this journey. I'm your host, Shefali Burns. So thank you so much for being here and joining me on my mission to awaken happiness worldwide. And I'm feeling so blessed and grateful today to be able to bring you this summit and these wonderful speakers. And I know what you're going to say. I said this yesterday, but you know what? Honestly, I really, truly am so grateful to be able to do this and bring these speakers to you. It's just a true joy, really. It really is. So let me ask you a few questions first before we get started. So what would it take for this summit, these teleseminars, to be rewarding and expansive for everyone, including myself, the speakers, you, the audience, and the world? So whatever doesn't allow that to take place, can you just let go of all that? And what would it take for us to transform our lives and transform the world? That's really what we're after here. And happiness, for me is really, really important. And it's your divine birthright. You have a right to be happy today and every day. We deserve it. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to try and help everyone to be more happy. So what would it take for all of us to be more happy than we were yesterday? According to one of my upcoming guests, Gary Douglas, he just quoted this the other day, and so I keep quoting it. Do you realize how much energy it takes to be unhappy? If you choose to be happy, what else could you create with that? Interesting, isn't it? Happiness is a choice. So let's choose to be happy and create a life of our choice, the life of our dreams. So the purpose of this summit is to give you tools and processes that you can use every day to be more happy in all areas of your life. So today, we have Brent Phillips, and Brent was an MIT-trained engineer. He was disabled for 7 years until he experienced a miracle when his injured arm instantly healed from a single session of energy healing. Today, he is widely considered a master healer, is author of Where Science Meets Spirit, The Formula for Miracles, and is the creator of the Formula for Miracles Energy Healing System and the patent-pending Formula for Miracles audio technology. Now, Brent has studied with many of the leading teachers and master healers in the world and has integrated the best of many systems and modalities to develop this new energy healing system, which I think is fantastic. It's what we all really need, a formula to create miracles. Isn't that, it just sounds so wonderful. So Brent has also performed over 10,000 hours of private healing sessions and has personally witnessed over 1,000 miraculous instant healings. And he's going to talk about that later on, so I'm not going to go into that. He's acknowledged as one of the most powerful and most accomplished energy healing practitioners in the world. I mean, it's such an honor for me to have him here, and he's regularly among the most in-demand and best-selling guests on radio and in Law of Attraction and Holistic Health teleseminar series. So how lucky are we that he decided to come and join us, right? So welcome to the show, Brent. It's just an honor to have you here.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
So I have to ask you about how did you go from being an MIT-trained software engineer to become a healer and such a famous healer and creating the Formula for Miracles? How did that happen?
Well, it was one of those things that just kind of happened. It was never part of my plan. As the saying goes, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. And so really I grew up as the stereotypical computer nerd. As a boy, I was very much into the early video games, and I loved science fiction and played Dungeons and Dragons. And so when it was time for me to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, there was one thing that I enjoyed doing and I was good at that someone would pay me for, and that was programming computers. And so it seemed like a natural fit, and so I decided to go to school at MIT, where I majored in computer science, and it was at MIT that I discovered the Internet. And of course, today that sounds kind of funny, but 25 years ago, very few people were aware that such a thing existed. And so when I was in college, I made network programming the focus of my studies. I went on to get my bachelor's degree at MIT, continued there in graduate school. I got my master's degree, and I was accepted into the PhD program and working towards my doctorate when the Internet boom hit in the mid-90s. And so, like a lot of others in my lab, we all decided to leave grad school to move to California to start Internet companies to make millions. And so, of course, my original goal wasn't to go out and become a healer. It was really I wanted to create incredible new video games and make millions of dollars, and then retire to some tropical island and spend my days hot tubbing with supermodels.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, that was my plan. Unfortunately, it didn't work out real well, though things got off to a great start. When I first came out to California, I had my lifelong best friend and another partner that we started a web design company, and this was back in 1995, really right at the beginning of the internet boom. And so that company built very quickly. We did for our very first website, and this was literally the first website I created in my whole life, was the website for the launch of the first Sony PlayStation in the summer of 1995. And so things got off to a fast start. We got a lot of high-profile clients, several Fortune 500 companies, including Disneyland and Nissan Motors, and several divisions of Sony. A year later, I had 15 people working for me. We started a second company to create online video games because that was a real passion for me and my partners. And so the things were going great for a while, and it really seemed like the sky was the limit. But there was one little catch, one dirty little secret, and that was the reason these companies were successful was that I was literally working myself almost to death. I worked 7 days a week, generally 14 to 16-hour days. I was there early morning, all day, every night, every weekend, no breaks, no holidays, no vacations, nothing. All I did was work because at the time I figured, well, it's a reasonable sacrifice that I'll give up a couple years of my life in order to get millions of dollars and never have to work again. But it didn't work out that way. Instead, after about a year and a half of this just really grueling, punishing schedule, I started to develop a lot of pain. And so I started having pain in my wrist and my elbows and my neck and my back. And I went to doctors, and at first I wasn't too concerned because up to that point in my life, every time I had problems with my health, I went to a doctor and they would give me something and I would get better. So I wasn't too worried about it. And so I went to doctors and they told me that I had repetitive stress injuries. And so they gave me anti-inflammatories and painkillers and gave me splints and told me to take a break and put me through physical therapy. And so I did all that, but I didn't get better. And I actually spent the next 3 years chasing conventional treatment, trying to get better. I went to physical therapy and occupational therapy, and I went through movement retraining, and I saw orthopedist and got nerve blocks, and I had all these different diagnostics done. And after all of it, though, after 3 years, instead of getting better, I just got worse and worse. And so this, it's important to emphasize that this wasn't just a little tingle in my wrist. I was in severe pain. I could only drive about 10 minutes at a time because holding a steering wheel and driving was very painful for me. It was almost impossible for me to work on a computer. To do maybe 30 minutes a day on the keyboard, I'd have to spend an hour warming up with heat and ice and electric stim and massage just to do a little bit of keyboard time and then have more ice and things afterwards to try to minimize the damage. I had to move in with my parents because on some days when the pain was really bad, I had to have my mother cut my food for me. So that this was really, this wasn't just a little annoyance. This just completely wrecked my life. And so after about 3 years of this, I could barely work. And so my partners lost patience with me. And so in 1998, things got really bad, and I entered, as they call it, my first dark night of the soul, where everything just falls apart all at once. And so within a very short period of time, one thing that happened was that my doctors declared me what they call permanent stationary. And that's just work comp lingo that means that you're an impossible case and they don't want to bother treating you anymore because they've decided that no matter how much treatment they give you, you can never recover, you can never be cured, and they don't want to waste their time trying. And so that was devastating because at the time I was 27 years old and I really wanted to get out of pain so I could go back to work and restart my life. And so being told by the best doctors in the world there was no chance of that and they didn't ever want to see me again because they didn't want to waste their time on me, that was devastating. But that was just the first blow. Shortly after that, we had with the game company, again, got off to a great start. I had developed a world-beating technology, and literally we created an entirely new genre of video games that had never existed before. And now it's a multi-billion-dollar industry of online games. But we had three partners and publishers terminate us without cause. And what that means is that we had a development deal, and we met every milestone, we met every deliverable, we did everything we promised on time and on budget, and yet our publisher backed out usually because they went out of business or they went bankrupt or their parent company just completely axed them. So that was devastating because the video game was a huge passion for me. And the next thing that happened was that my partners had really lost patience with me because I could barely work. I was doing the best I could, but I was lucky if I could be on the keyboard an hour a day, and even that was really pushing it. And so I lost my position at the company. And long story short, the website company was sold behind my back for millions of dollars, and there were lawsuits and a lot of bad feelings. And what I call the cherry on top of the sundae was that my lifelong best friend and business partner, I found out, had also been secretly dating the woman that I was in love with and that I had been dating.
Wow.
So it was pretty much a wipe out on for most of us. There's really three primary things we want in our lives to be happy. Number one is health. So I had lost my health and told it I could never recover and I'd always be in severe pain. Number two was money. And so I had lost literally millions of dollars. And I was left living with my parents, nearly broke, unable to work, only able to survive and get treatment because of disability benefits. And the third is love. And so I had had a terrible heartbreak and been betrayed by my lifelong best friend, who I loved like a brother. And so that was really devastating. And so I was very lucky in that I didn't get stuck for too long in being depressed or drinking or using drugs or all that, because I had a friend of mine get me into positive thinking. And he said to me, hey, Brent, when everything's going wrong in your life, that's when we turn to positive thinking. That's when you really need it. And, of course, today we call it the law of attraction. But back in the 90s, we called it positive thinking, and it's really all the same stuff. And so I went to positive thinking seminars, and I listened to motivational tapes, and I put power words in my walls, and I said my mantra is 108 times a day because someone had told me that's like the ideal number to make things happen in your life. And I tried to think positively, and I made a wish board, and I did all that kind of stuff. But after doing that for a while, nothing seemed to change. It would make me feel a little better when I was doing it, but it didn't change anything. And so I got frustrated, and I decided that it didn't work and gave up on it. And so the next thing for me, again, I was very lucky that I didn't get stuck in depression for too long and hopelessness, because I had another friend of mine turn me on to alternative medicine. And so this was like late 98, early 99, when I got turned on to alternative medicine. And when I first got introduced to it, I think like a lot of the listeners, I got really excited because I thought, oh my gosh, right? This may be exactly what I need to get better. And so I really dove headlong into the world of alternative medicine. And I scraped together as much money as I could, and I borrowed money, and I sold things. And I started seeing all these different alternative and holistic doctors and therapists. And so I did acupuncture and Chinese herbs and saw Chinese doctors. I started seeing a homeopath and an osteopath. I saw chiropractors. I had all sorts of different body work and deep tissue work done on me. I took all these different crazy supplements. I mean, I was taking sometimes 50, 60, even 80 pills a day of all these different supplements trying to get better. I did all sorts of different diets and cleanses. I did a raw food diet, 100% raw for a while. I did different cleanses. I did liver cleanses and cellular cleanses, and I tried the master cleanse and an anti-inflammation diet and a blood type diet and all this stuff, and none of it seemed to change anything. And I had every healing device and machine known to man. I had electric stims. I had sonic stimulators. I had subsonic stimulators. I had chi machines and vibration machines and cold lasers, and I used titanium tape and different stretching machines and massagers and all that, and nothing seemed to change. And it was very frustrating because I was really going all out. I mean, I spent literally the next 5 years as a full-time patient just trying to get better. And what happened to me was very, very frustrating because every time I found some new thing, they would tell me, like, hey, Brent, I'm so glad you found me because I think that this is exactly what you need. And I'm confident that we're going to be able to get you better. And so I'd do the treatments, or I'd buy the supplements, or I'd buy the machine or process, and I'd do it, and I would try and try and try. And just so the listeners know, for example, when I say that I tried acupuncture, I don't mean I had 4 sessions. When I say I tried acupuncture, what I mean is I went out and found the best Chinese doctor in town, and I saw him twice a week for 18 months. So I was really, trying really hard. I wanted to get better more than anything, but nothing worked for me. And so 6 months or a year or 2 years later, everyone would say, sorry, Brent, I don't know what's wrong. And they tell me how 80 or 90 or 99% of the people who worked with their therapy or supplement or machine or whatever, they'd be out of pain, they'd get better, they'd go back to work. But I was always in that 1% that didn't respond. And that was so frustrating because it didn't just happen a couple times. I mean, this happened dozens of times. One time for a disability hearing, I had put together a list of all the different doctors and therapists I had seen in the last few years, and there were 54 people on it.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
It was ridiculous. Yeah, it was like 14 pages long or something. And so I was doing so much and nothing worked. And so in early 2003, I agreed to have an experimental surgery. And so there was a world-class orthopedist who thought, hey, Brent, I think I can help you, and you're a good candidate. And so I agreed to have the surgery. And, of course, if the surgery had cured me and everything got better and I lived happily ever after, I wouldn't be here today, would I?
No, that's for sure.
Right. So instead, the surgery was a total disaster.
Oh, my goodness.
And so instead of making me better, it actually made me a lot worse. And so what happened was that after I woke up from the surgery, my right arm was totally frozen at the elbow. I couldn't move it at all. And so that was really frustrating because as bad as things were before that, now it was even worse because I couldn't drive. I couldn't dress myself. I couldn't brush my teeth. I couldn't even use the bathroom without a lot of difficulty. And so it was stuck like that for 4 months. And I did manipulations, and I was seeing a physical therapist and all these different things. But nothing would really work. And so it was then that I got introduced to using energy healing for subconscious clearing. And I was kind of familiar with the subconscious. I had worked with hypnotists and NLP practitioners, and I was kind of familiar with energy healing because I had done things like Reiki healing and pranic healing and been to different faith healers who ran energy through their hands and things like that. But nothing ever really made much of a difference for me. And so it was actually my Aunt Lauren that told me about one of her friends, Terry O'Connell, that she had been a very successful financial professional, and they had worked together for like 10, 20 years. And Terry had had a major health crisis. In fact, it almost killed her. And she had found this form of energy healing involving subconscious clearing that not only did it save her life, but she was so impressed with it that she walked away from her career in finance to go start a whole new life as a professional healer. And so I admit, when I first heard this, I thought she got nuts, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, why would anybody walk away from an amazing six-figure salary in finance to hang a shingle as a faith healer? But, I was desperate, and I had to try everything because I had to convince myself that I had done everything I could to get better. And so I had a session with her, and I went to meet Terry at her apartment, and she's sitting across the room from me because it's all done with the mind. And she explained to me the basics of the subconscious mind and how the subconscious mind is very powerful and creates your reality. And that was kind of familiar to me. I'd read some books on the subject and worked with hypnotists, so that kind of made sense. And she showed me how to do muscle testing, which is the way of communicating with the subconscious. And again, that wasn't brand new to me because I was familiar with Hawkins' work. I really loved Power versus Force. And I had been to some practitioners that had used the muscle testing with the arm lever. And so that kind of made sense. And she said, okay, Brent, it's pretty simple. You're full of all these subconscious programs and codes and traumas that are creating your life for you. And if you want to see some changes in your life, positive thinking isn't going to cut it. You need to be able to get deep into the subconscious mind and clear these blocks. And I was like, okay, sure, sounds good. I was game. And so she asked me a lot of questions, and we talked about what had happened to me in my childhood and my relationship with my parents. And she asked me about my belief in God, and we talked about what had happened with my best friend and that betrayal and the heartbreaks I'd been through and all the money I had lost and all the years of this horrible pain I'd been in and losing all my dreams and having to live with my parents and all that. And it was very interesting, but I admit the whole time I was kind of like, well, it's all well and good to talk about your feelings, but I'm here because I can't move my arm and I'm in pain, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't see the connection. I didn't see how talking about my feelings was going to get my arm to move. But I was wrong. And so at the end of the session, she said, okay, Brent, we're going to heal your arm now. And I was like, yeah, sure, go crazy, right? You line up, take a number. Everyone else has tried. Nothing ever happens. And so she kind of closed her eyes and went into a trance. And I'm just like looking out the window. And all of a sudden, I felt something popped inside my elbow. It was like a little firecracker round. It was weird. And again, she's sitting across the room from me. This is all done with the mind. There's no physical touching or manipulation. And I was like, whoa. And I remember she opened her eyes and smiled and was like, okay, Brent, try your arm. And I did, and I could move my arm again. It was amazing.
Wow. And, as you're telling the story, I'm getting tingles and goosebumps all over. It's just so amazing that something can happen so quickly and so easily, it seems,
Yes. And so that was the miracle that hooked me on this. And so I was like, oh, my gosh, I don't know what you did, but I have to learn this. And so I did, and I spent years studying energy healing with a lot of amazing teachers, and started off with Vianna Steiple's Theta Healing, but I've since worked with a lot of other amazing teachers, Carl Wolf, among others. And really, what I found was that the basic premise of energy healing is that you can use subtle energy flows or use mind power to change your life. And what I found is there's actually a technology, there's science to it. And so I kind of made it my mission to bring a very grounded, methodical, linear approach to this kind of often crazy, flaky, new age.
Yeah, I was going to say all that out there stuff,
Right,
Yeah.
because I wanted to make it more real. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years. And I see myself as sort of a voice of reason among a lot of hype and promises. And that has led me to the development of the Formula for Miracles system, which, as far as I know, it is the best of the best of what's available. But before we talk about that and how it works, I am very much an engineer and a scientist. And so I like to be very precise and clear in my communications. I don't want anyone to come away with any misunderstandings of what I'm saying here. And so I want to be very clear and honest and say that, yes, my frozen elbow completely and instantly healed permanently in that first session. Never gave me trouble again. That really happened. And let me tell you, I would not have given up all my education and all my background in software engineering to become a healer had that not happened, right?
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, I
Yes.
totally agree. Yeah.
However, all of my problems were not solved in an hour. All of the other issues I had, the chronic pain, the depression, the back pain, the struggles with money, the social anxiety, the difficulties with relationships, spiritual blocks, that wasn't all changed in an hour. However, with more work and more time, as well as a lot of other things, including yoga and Pilates and diet and energy healing and meditation and so on and so forth, I was able to overcome all of that stuff. And it took me a while. And so I just want to emphasize that. I don't want everyone to think that I can guarantee that all your problems will be solved in an hour. Of course not, right? That's
Why
ridiculous.
not? That's what we all want, right?
Yeah. Anyone that tells you that is just trying to take your money or is crazy or both, right? But what I did find was that when I used this process, it took me some time, but it really did deliver results. And so that's why I like to emphasize that sometimes we'll get a magic wand, and that happens a lot. And I'm very proud that as of now, I have seen over 1,000 miraculous instant healings in my clients and students. So I think that's something, right?
So that's not just on the physical level, right?
No, but many of them are. Many of them are. And when I say miraculous instant healing, someone saying, oh, gee, I love the energy, that doesn't cut it. When I talk about miraculous instant healing, I'm talking about things that show up in medical scans and leave doctors scratching their heads.
Right, yeah.
So I have a pretty high standard for that. And so what I'm really offering here, because when people ask me, well, Brent, what is the Formula for Miracles? I'll say, well, it's pretty simple. The Formula for Miracles is an easy-to-use set of tools for higher dimensional living. And by learning to work with your subconscious mind, you can literally communicate with and harness what we might call higher dimensional intelligence and power. Some people call that God or the soul or nature or cosmos, the power of the mind, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use that to create some amazing changes in your life. A lot of my work is with physical health, but it also applies equally to emotional health, to issues of depression, general happiness, spiritual work. It also applies to money, prosperity, success, as well as to relationships and love. And so the reason it works on everything, because I'm sure people listening have a lot of questions, but before we get into the description of how it works, let me answer most of the questions right now.
Fantastic.
Yes, most of the questions I get are of the form, hey, Brent, this is my problem, XYZ. Can your system work with this? Well, the short answer is that these tools, the system, can work by anything created by your mind, which is pretty much everything.
Yeah, so most problems are created by the mind. I mean, yeah.
Right. Yes, and so if we look at how it works, if we go back to sort of the basic principle of energy healing and the law of attraction of this whole industry, it's that your mind is very powerful. Mm-hmm. And if you know how to work with the power of your mind, you can create changes in your life, right? You can heal your body, you can heal your mind, you can make money, you can find love, right? You can find happiness. But a lot of the systems and programs out there, to put it bluntly, just don't work very well. And so let's take, for an example, your typical law of attraction for making money, right? There's a million law of attraction teachers out there with books and videos and weekend seminars that are all saying some version of the same thing. They'll have you go to a weekend seminar, and they all have these great brochures and emails and sales pages, right, with these testimonials from smiling, happy people who will say, hey, you know what, I went to this positive thinking course, and the next week I made $1 million and met my soulmate and healed from cancer.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, my God, right? I want some of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you rush out and you sign up and pay your money and you go and, you dance on the stage and high-five your friends and make your wish board and think positively and, look yourself in the mirror and point and go, you're a millionaire or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying it usually doesn't work.
And we've all done it.
Yes, many of us have. I would imagine you and most of your listeners have done something like that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You just want to understand the kicker is that 99% of your life is created unconsciously. There's all these codes and programs inside of you, most of which didn't even happen to you. Most of the stuff you inherited from your ancestors through DNA.
And this is, I think, the key. This is the key. This is the part that nobody really understands or even knows about.
Yeah. Only 10 to 20% of your programs in your subconscious are things that happen to you, and that number's even pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so probably realistically, it's more like 3 to 4%. And so most of the stuff inside of you is things that didn't even happen to you, but it's running your life. And so, for example, you go to a positive thinking weekend or listen to an audio or watch the video 7 times or whatever it is, right? Listen to the calls.
Mm-hmm.
And you go and, do your manifestations and make your wish list. And that's good because, congratulations, you've successfully harnessed 1% of your mind to create wealth. That's a good start, right?
Yeah.
What you may not realize is that the other 99% of your mind is standing there with a big stop sign saying, no, 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 we don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
Because we believe that money is more trouble than it's worth. Or
and that's the stronger part, right?
Right. Or we believe that if we have a lot of money, everybody will want something.
Mm-hmm.
And the list goes on and on, right?
Yeah.
And so what you realize is 1% of you is sending a nice signal out to the universe saying, hey, universe, send me money. Okay, that's nice. That's a good start. But 99% is going, no, no, no. Right? I think I have to be poor to be close to God, or I think I have a vow of poverty. And so nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, the people that write those happy testimonials, they're in that lucky 1% that didn't have any subconscious blocks in the way. And so if you're lucky and you don't have any subconscious blocks, you can go and dance on the stage and high-five your friends and make a wish list and say your affirmations 108 times a day, and your life will change. But for most of us, we just aren't that lucky, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way I like to describe it is most teachers out there teaching law of attraction are very well-meaning and well-intentioned and teaching what really did work for them. But it's kind of like someone who won the lottery teaching a wealth-building seminar and telling everyone, well, just go buy a lottery ticket, because when I did that, I won $1 million.
Right.
Right? And then everyone pays money to come to their seminar and then rushes down to the local 7-Eleven and buys a lottery ticket and doesn't win.
Yeah.
And wondered what's wrong, right? You know, the teacher was genuine. It really did work for them. It just didn't work for you. And so what I found is that if you can get into the subconscious mind and identify and clear those blocks, you can start by getting 2% and then 4%, and then over time, 10, 20, 40, 50, maybe even 90% of your subconscious behind you. And when you can do that, that's when miracles start to happen. That's when people have their businesses turn around. Money comes out of nowhere. Lifelong depression is gone in an hour. Their body instantly heals. Someone who hasn't dated for 3 years meets the love of their life and is married 8 weeks later. Mm-hmm. And I'm throwing out these examples because these are all things I've seen happen over and over again. Mm-hmm. And so when I explain the formula for miracles as a toolkit for higher dimensional living, it's actually pretty simple. Your subconscious mind acts as the interface or the glue between this material reality we inhabit, right? The mind, the personality, the bank account, the memory, the world around you, and the higher dimensional realm that is invisible to us. Mm. And so the way it works is that your subconscious mind creates your reality through this interface in the same way that the programs on a computer create the programs on your screen, right?
Yep.
And so you want to recognize that the way most of us are trained to make money, to find love, to heal our bodies, to be happy, is very similar to imagine you're using your computer and there's problems with the software, right? It's not working right. So you pull out a black marker and some whiteout and you start drawing on your computer monitor to try to get your program to work right. Well, that's ridiculous, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right? That's exactly what Western medicine does with their drugs and surgery approach. It's how most of us go about trying to make money. It's basically just drawing on the monitor, which, of course, is a ridiculous waste of time. Because
and
we
it
all
doesn't
know,
work. Yeah.
And it doesn't work, right?
It doesn't
you might
work.
get a temporary fix, right? You,
mm-hmm.
you draw on your monitor for a while, and you may get your screen to look like what you'd like it to look like. But it's not going to work. And so we all know that if there's problems with your computer programs, you got to fix the software, right?
Yeah, that's right.
There's these visible codes sitting on the hard drive or the flash memory that create the programs, and drawing on the monitor isn't going to help. You have to go fix the underlying code. And your life is the same way. Every experience in your life is like a program on your computer. We have programs for money, for career, for love, for happiness, for physical health, for emotional health, right, for friendship. We have programs for all these things. And if you really want to see a change in some aspect of your life, you need to get to those codes. Mm-hmm. And that's what I offer here with this toolkit.
Yeah, that really makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense.
Some simple tools. And that subconscious mind is so important because the way it works is you will create your life in a way that is consistent with your subconscious programs. So, for example, if you hold the belief that rich people are greedy and you look at your experiences with wealthy people, you're probably going to come away going, you know what, they're a bunch of greedy people. Because when you have that program, that's what you create. Mm-hmm. And so when you can change those programs, you'll change the kind of experience you have, right? And this is where the toolkit for higher dimensional living comes in. And so that's why I want to correct another common misunderstanding right here. I mentioned earlier that it doesn't always work like a magic wand. Well, of course, sometimes it does, right? Mm-hmm. And that's very seductive to us because who doesn't just want a magic wand you wave that makes your problems go away? Right?
Of course, yes, definitely.
Right? And it does work that way sometimes. I've seen it happen over and over and over 1,000 times. People's careers turn around, their business start profiting, they find an investor, they find love, they heal their body, they heal their mind, they feel good, they improve their intuition, I mean, on and on and on. But that's not actually what's happening. That's sort of a misunderstanding. What's really happening is you're programming your subconscious mind to tell the universe how you'd like your life to be. And sometimes it changes instantly or overnight, right? We call those the miracles. Mm-hmm. The rest of the time, you've engaged a process. And these tools always work as long as you take a holistic view, right? So, for example, if you want to learn to speak Japanese, I can very quickly download into you the codes so you can test strong to I speak Japanese. Does that necessarily mean that you'll be fluent in speaking it that night? Of course not, right?
No.
But it does mean that your life will start to move towards that direction.
Right.
So you'll find the right book, the right class, the right friends. You'll find the right trip to Japan, such that over time you will achieve that, and that will become your reality. And that's how this works. And the higher dimensional piece is so fascinating because most of us are so stuck in the lower dimensions, we're just running around drawing on our monitors, getting frustrated, right? Wondering why our lives aren't working. And so I like to use the analogy of Flatland. And so Flatland was a cute little video made in the 70s. I remember watching it in grammar school. That is about a two-dimensional world where all the people are shapes, right? They're hexagons and triangles and squares, right? Mm-hmm. And they all live and work in a two-dimensional flat world called Flatland. And one day, one of them discovers the third dimension. And everyone around him thinks he's crazy and he's persecuted for it, right?
Yeah.
But because he can access the third dimension, he can do things that seem miraculous or impossible to the others, right? So if you can access the third dimension, you can walk up to someone's house in Flatland and simply jump into the third dimension to look inside and see who's in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to everyone else around you that doesn't know how to do that, it would seem like you're a psychic. No, you don't have a magical power. You're just living in a higher dimensional space, right? Similarly, let's say you're walking around in Flatland and you come up to a line that's 1,000,000 miles long. Well, you can't get around it, can you? That's impossible. But if you know how to access the third dimension, you just walk up to it, pop over it, and keep going on the other side. Mm. But, of course, to those stuck in Flatland, they would call it a miracle.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It's really not. It's just that you're just seeing the manifestation of the true higher dimensional nature of the universe. And that's what this formula is. It's just a bunch of tools for higher dimensional living that show you how you can quickly clear subconscious blocks and program yourself for what you want to have happen. And then, in the same way that the three-dimensional guy in Flatland can see and understand and do things that seem impossible to those around him, you may be amazed at what happens in your life, right? And
yeah,
so,
for sure.
The subconscious mind, it's actually pretty simple. Because people will say, hey, Brent, this sounds great, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right? The law of attraction, subconscious mind, this all makes sense. You know, how does it work, and give me some. And so it's pretty straightforward. Because remember, you just want to clear your subconscious blocks, and you want to put into your subconscious minds the codes and programs that are going to facilitate getting what you want, right? And so in order to do that, there's really two things we need to do. Mm-hmm. Number one, we need to be able to talk to the subconscious, right? And that may not be obvious how we do that. And I'll explain that in just a minute. It's actually very easy. The second thing we need to do is to be able to make a change in it, right? In the same way that if you have trouble with your computer, you need a way to put new software in to fix it, right?
Exactly.
So those are really the only two things we need to do. So I'll explain how we do that, and then I'll do a little demonstration so that everyone listening can actually experience this in action.
Oh, great. That'd be fantastic.
You can actually see how this works and see that it's real, and maybe see some real change just by the end of this call. And so the answer to the first question is muscle testing, right? The way you talk to your subconscious mind is called muscle testing or applied kinesiology. Mm-hmm. And so muscle testing has been around since the 60s, and a lot of different holistic practitioners use it, right? And the most common way you'll see it is the arm lever, where a lot of chiropractors and naturopaths and Chinese doctors will use this. Well, they'll have you like hold a supplement to your chest or something and push on your arm. And so what's actually going on there is when you do muscle testing, you're bypassing the conscious mind to ask questions of what you might call the subconscious or unconscious mind. You might also call it cellular memory or cellular intelligence or kinetic intelligence. Those all kind of mean the same thing. And so muscle testing will tell you exactly what is and is not in your subconscious mind. And it's very easy to test. And I'll walk everyone through that in just a second. The second question is, okay, once you've identified these blocks, what do you do about it, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe you've identified through muscle testing that you subconsciously hold a vow of poverty, or you believe it's wrong for you to be happy, or you don't deserve to be happy, or you don't deserve to find love, or that you can never be healthy, or that you'll always be in pain, or that you'll always struggle with money, right, or whatever it is. And so in order to make a shift in the subconscious mind, it's actually pretty easy if you know how. And it involves accessing a theta brain state. And so quite simply, as long as you're in a, quote, normal state, which is the beta state, which most of us spend our waking time in, the subconscious is closed off and off limits. You can't touch it.
Right.
But if you know how to bring your brain into a theta state while you're awake and conscious, the theta state is the state we go into at night when we're dreaming. And that's when the subconscious mind takes over and runs the show. And so by accessing that same brain state when you're awake and conscious, you can actually open and work with your subconscious mind. And it's once you've done that, it's pretty easy to clear blocks and put in positive programs, to do physical healings and emotional healings and manifestation. And all the different scientific studies done on law of attraction and intuition and psychic and paranormal phenomena, all of them end up coming to the conclusion that it all happens from a theta brain state.
Wow.
So, and there's a couple of ways to do that, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into that, let's give a demonstration.
Sure, great.
I think we've done enough talking. So let's actually do it.
All right.
So I want to take a few minutes to guide everyone through the basics of muscle testing. Once we've done that, I'll have everyone test a couple common blocks, and I'll clear them on everyone listening, and we'll retest to make sure they're gone.
Fantastic.
And so I am going to go very fast because we don't have a lot of time. And so just be aware for everybody listening, if you haven't done this before, most people get it in just a couple minutes. So I would expect most listeners, even if you've never done this before, I can have you testing in a couple minutes. However, it's not that easy for everybody. It wasn't for me. And so don't worry. Be aware that there's a lot of other material I have to help you if you don't get it right away. I have a video called Secrets of Muscle Testing. It's about an hour long. It has a long explanation of the theory, step-by-step video tutorials on how to do 4 different kinds of testing, a whole lot of information on how to troubleshoot and set up precision alignments to get it to work. So there's a lot of material on my website and in my club calls to the VIP club on that. So don't worry. If you don't get it right away, there's a lot of other material. I can get almost anybody to muscle test. So don't panic if you don't get it right away. So there's a lot of ways we can do muscle testing. You may have seen people use the arm lever where you push down on the arm. You can make a ring with your fingers is another common one. You might hold a pendulum or use a dowsing rod. These are all the same thing. These are all different versions of muscle testing or applied kinesiology. And so what I want to explain right now is what's called the standing test or the sway test. The reason being that most people can learn that and use it very quickly. Most people can be up and running and testing themselves in just a couple minutes. So I'll talk everyone through it. If you already know how to muscle test, you're welcome to use whatever you like. You can test your fingers or use a pendulum. There's some cool muscle testing devices and machines on the market. So if you know another method, you're welcome to use it. But if not, or you'd like to learn the standing method, let's take about 2 minutes to talk you through it. So when we do the standing method of muscle testing, what we're doing is standing up and facing to the north and making statements out loud. When these statements resonate true to your subconscious mind, to that cellular memory, there is a very physical and biological effect that occurs in that the electrical and magnetic field in and around your body becomes stronger. As a result, with the standing test, you'll actually feel your body tilting and pushing towards the north. Really, all you're doing is turning your body into a pendulum lever. And on the opposite side, if you make a statement that resonates false to your subconscious, your field will weaken, and you're going to tilt or push backwards. So that's muscle testing. Pretty easy. And so let's talk everyone through it. So if you want to follow along, go ahead and stand up and face to the north. Just take your best guess. It's not strictly necessary, but if you can face north, it will make it easier for you if you can line up with the Earth's magnetic field. And what's going to happen is we're going to have you make statements out loud. If they're true to your body or subconscious, you'll tilt or push forward. If they're false, you're going to tilt or push backwards. And so it's a very easy way to ask your body or your subconscious what it thinks about things. And so you want to stand up, face to the north, put your feet about hip width apart. Look down at your toes. Make sure your toes are pointed straight forward. We may adjust that But for most people, most of the time, you'll test best with your toes straight forward. And probably the most important thing to get a good test is to make sure your legs are straight. Because if your knees are bent, if you're in a strong posture, you're not going to feel the subtle push forward and backwards, right? And so if you're standing very tall with straight legs, it should feel almost like you're floating or balanced over your legs. And just a tiny little push will move you forwards or backwards, and that's what we want. At the same time, I don't want you to lock up really tight, get rigid. Because if you're locked up and rigid, that's not going to work very well either. So just stand in a very tall, relaxed posture with straight legs. And so I want everyone who's following along to just say yes out loud. And so when you say yes, that should resonate true with your subconscious. And you should feel your body tilting or pushing forward. And that's all there is to it. And so to do a backwards test, let's go back to the middle. So stand up, face to the north, feet about hip width apart, toes straight forward, legs straight. And say out loud, no. And when you say no, that should resonate false to your subconscious, and you should tilt or push backwards. So that's all most people need to know to get testing. So if you're listening and you're not testing clearly, don't worry. I just went through a really fast explanation. You just need a little more explanation, a little more time. So if you didn't get it, don't panic. What I would encourage you to do is keep listening, follow along the best you can, and then after we're done with the call, you can go through the Secrets of Muscle Testing video or come to one of my live events, and I'll have a longer tutorial on it. And then you can listen to the replay and recheck everything later. So just do the best you can for now. Don't worry about it if you're not getting it. So now I want to do a little demonstration of clearing some blocks. And so we'll do a couple downloads around happiness. Because just like a computer, if you don't have the right codes for something, you can't create it, right? If you don't have the program to run solitaire in your computer, you can't run solitaire. And so many of us are trying to create things in our life that we don't have the codes for. We may be lacking the codes for making money or finding love or being healthy or just being happy. And so we'll do a little demonstration, and we'll have everyone test to see if they have those codes in place. If you don't, I'll put them in. So if you want to follow along, we'll do the muscle testing. Stand up, face to the north, legs straight forward, toes straight forward, legs straight, and say out loud, I know how to be happy. And so if you're going forward or getting a strong result, that's good. It means you have that code. If you don't, if that's a backwards or a no response, it means you're missing it. And so if you're missing the code, go ahead and give me your permission. Just say yes out loud. And I'm going to go very quickly, pull everyone into a theta state, download that code into your subconscious mind, and then pull you back up to the normal state, the beta state. So it'll take me just a second. Okay, and we're all done. It can happen so fast you might not even notice anything's happened. But now let's rerun the muscle test. Everyone stand up, face north, legs straight, toes straight forward, and say out loud, I know how to be happy. And now you should be going forward. And so most of the time when we do this, these downloads and the block clearing, most of the time this change will happen instantly and hold forever. It's not 100% though. And so if it didn't take right away, if you're still getting no, don't panic. Sometimes you might need overnight to process the change. So I'd recommend you try it again tomorrow. And if it's still not there in the morning, what that usually means is there's a more powerful block that's in the way. And we're not going to get into how to clear that now, but we have processes for that. So let's do another one. Let's have everybody test, I deserve to be happy. And so say it out loud. And if you're moving forward, that's good. It means you hold the program, the belief that you deserve to be happy, and that's good. If you're going backwards, it means you think you don't deserve to be happy. And so if that's the case, if you've got a backwards or a no response, we want to change that because that's a block. So go ahead and give me permission. You can just say yes out loud. And I will go clear that block. Okay, and then retest. Say out loud, I deserve to be happy. And so now it should be a yes. Again, it may not instantly shift for everybody, but most of the time it'll shift instantly and hold forever. And then for the whole rest of your life and beyond, you hold the belief that you deserve to be happy, which will make it a lot more likely that you'll attract happy things into your life. So that's just a very quick demonstration. And so we just did a couple of them here. Be aware that on my programs and in my club calls through my VIP club where we do live events, we'll clear dozens or hundreds of those all at one time. So that was just a little taste to show you.
Wow.
And it can actually make changes in you very quickly. And
that was so easy, Brent. It was so easy and
it is, isn't it?
Simple.
Yes. Yeah, it's really simple. And so I think it's really interesting how I developed this because there's a lot of different ways you can work with the subconscious and make these changes. And when I first learned this, when I first learned energy healing, I did it the traditional way, right? You sit in a room with somebody, you talk to them, you run muscle tests on them, you clear their blocks, and then you heal them or help them manifest. And so that's how I started. That's what happened in my first session with Terry. And that was a great start, but because I'm very much an engineer and an innovator, I always want to make everything better, faster, easier, and more powerful. So I wasn't content to be doing the same thing everyone else was doing. I wanted to do better. And so the next thing I learned how to do was how to work remotely and clear blocks remotely. And so that's what I've been doing. And for the last several years, I do just about all of my private sessions as well as the teleseminar group clearings remotely through phone or Skype. And, of course, I admit and acknowledge that in this modern era, that's not such a big deal. There's a lot of intuitives and energy healers that know how to work remotely. And so that still wasn't good enough for me. And I wanted to do better, right? And so the next step for me was learning how to work on a group, to clear blocks on an entire group of people all at once. And so after some time, I learned how to do that. And so in 2005, I started doing a monthly event called the Wealth Club, where I first did it as a live event in Los Angeles, where once a month I would rent a room, and I'd invite people to come in, and they could bring their subconscious blocks and around money and wealth and success, and I would clear them for the whole group. So that was kind of cool, right? I went from working with people one at a time to working remotely to working on a group. And, of course, that wasn't good enough for me, and so I wanted to do better. And so the next obvious step was to work a group remotely. And so, again, it took me some time, but I eventually figured out how to do it. And so starting about 5 years ago, I started doing my club calls remotely. And so I have an online members program called the Formula for Miracles VIP Club, where every month I do a whole bunch of live events and create special materials for all the members. And so every month we either do a wealth club, a love club, and or a health club, and sometimes we do other events on particular themes. And so I do it through teleseminars, so people from all over the world can join us and send me their blocks, and I clear them on everybody. So I've been doing that for years, and so clearing the group remotely was kind of neat. And that was sort of the basis of when I originally started my online members program in the VIP Club. And those are all included. And so that still wasn't good enough for me. And so I also started teaching training classes because I recognized that over time there's only so many people I could work on, and I wanted people to learn how to do this. And so I still do that. And so if anyone's interested, I'm not going to talk too much about it now, but I do teach weekend training classes, and in just a couple days I can teach you how to do all these things and more. It's not that hard. And so, but that still wasn't enough for me, and so what I saw as sort of like the holy grail of this was to be able to create a pre-recorded program that would somehow be able to clear blocks on people. Because I thought, well, if I can find a way to make a program or a product that can actually clear subconscious blocks, then I can create them very cheaply and create an enormous amount of clearing and get it out to the world very cheaply and very effectively. And so, again, it took me a while on how to, to figure this out, but I eventually got it. And so that was the basis for what's now the Formula for Miracles technology. And, we're not going to get too much into the geek speak here, but basically it's a special technique of encoding audio programs such that when you listen to them, it will actually take you into a theta brain state and clear your blocks as you listen to it.
Wow.
And so I think that's really neat.
Oh, I think so too.
Yes, I've created just a handful. It's not easy to make them, so I don't have a lot of these programs, but I have a handful. And so the first one I created has been my most popular program, the bestseller. It's called Unleash Your Inner Millionaire. And I did it about money first because there's so many people with money struggles. And my guess is that if we took a tally of the listeners, most people would say that money is the number one thing between them and happiness. Just a guess. That's probably the most common, right? And so on Unleash Your Inner Millionaire, I was able to develop a program that would address your whole brain, the left brain and the right brain, the conscious and the subconscious mind, because that's important. And so the first half of the program are really graduate level law of attraction lectures to set your head straight about the way the world really works. And trust me, I guarantee you, I don't care how many law of attraction programs you've been to, I don't care how many books you've read, or how many meetings of secret societies you've attended, I would be shocked if you know all this. Because I was very fortunate to be able to study with someone who was indoctrinated into the secret societies and learned all these things. And so I know that what's in here is a lot of what's taught there. It's the missing piece that has been withheld from us. But here it is, in case you're curious, right? These are the techniques that the billionaires of the world use to generate their wealth. So that's there if you're interested. The second half of the program I think is even more interesting because that's the encoded audios. And so in this one program, if you listen to it, it will clear 327 of the most common blocks to prosperity.
Wow, that's a lot of blocks.
Yes. The goal being that everyone can start with the program, and for most people, just going through the program should make a difference in your life. And then from there, my goal is to first give you these very cheap, very easy-to-use tools to start working with your subconscious and show you the basics and clear a lot of blocks. And I usually start people with money because most people say that money is the big limiter on how many sessions and trainings and things they can do, right?
Yep,
so
absolutely.
Start with it first, clear some of your blocks, make more money, and then there's a whole lot of other things we can do. The VIP Club, I think, is an amazing resource because I recognize that no matter how long of a program you create, it's simply impossible that any pre-recorded audio or book or video or anything could solve every problem and clear every block that everyone's ever going to have, right?
Absolutely.
That's impossible. And
there's
so
7
what I'd
billion
recommend...
people on the planet, right? There's
Exactly,
7 billion problems.
Exactly. And so I created the VIP Club such that everyone who's a member gets ongoing access to me. Live access on a regular basis. We usually do 3 or 4 live events every month. Plus, I create an enormous amount of articles and videos and special materials based on the needs of the members to give you exactly what you need to overcome the challenges in your life. And so one thing I try very hard with this system is there's a lot of stuff in this industry that's kind of hit or miss, right? They'll give you a magic recipe, say this chant or this prayer or go to this program or, do whatever, right? And maybe your body heals or you make money or you find love and maybe you don't. And if you do, great. And if you don't, you just kind of shrug their shoulders and go, sorry. You can either do it over and over again and maybe that'll work or try something else, right?
Right.
And so I don't like that. I think that's a bunch of crap. And so I try to provide a system that has a built-in debugging process. In other words, if you use it and you can't get past a certain obstacle or a certain problem, it's not just shrug your shoulders and try something else. I create a system that always has another tool, always has another resource, always has ways to go deeper and more focused as long as you need until you get the result you're looking for. And so, for example, that's why I created my trauma clearing program. And so the trauma clearing program will clear out over 90% of your subconscious traumas just by listening to it. So, for example, if you start with Unleash Your Inner Millionaire, let's say that you go through the program and you do the 327 block clearings, And maybe for an average person, they may have, say, 100 blocks. And after listening to the program, it may clear 90 of them. So maybe you have 10 left. Well, rather than shrugging your shoulders and saying, go home, try something else, all you have to do then is go use the trauma clearing program on those 10 blocks. My guess is that most of those 10 will clear. And if there's 1 or 2 left, then you can just come to the VIP club and submit them to a wealth club with me, and I'll help you get to the bottom of it there. And so that's what I mean by a built-in debugging process. I like to give everyone the tools so there's always another layer, always some way to go deeper, more powerful, and you just keep at it till you get the change you need.
It sounds really complete. Like, it really seems like a really complete system that no matter what you do, it's going to work, as long as you actually do the clearings, right?
Yes, I think the 2 things that need to be remembered are, number 1, you actually have to use it, right? Mm-hmm. The program won't listen to themselves. You need to be involved.
So I'm just going to, at this time, let me just tell the listeners, because the people that are not on the webcast, if they're on the phone, I just want to point out that you can look at Brent's offer, a special offer, if you go to Awaken to Happiness Now /Brent, and then click on Speaker Special Offer. So that'll give you a whole listing of all the different things that are in the offer that Brent's been talking about. Because I just think it's amazing that all the different programs you have in here and then the systems you have in here and how they work. And, you know, like you said, it's a debugging program. So if one thing doesn't cover everything, then you have something else that will work to cover the rest of it, and so on and so forth.
Right. Yes. And so I try to create the package to give everyone everything they need to make a significant amount of clearing and see some change. Of course, I can't promise that it will solve all your problems forever, right? That's my goal, but I can't promise that. But that's why I created the VIP club and the training classes, so that there's always more options, always more resources. I'm always there to help you if there's some problem that you're really stuck on. And so the other thing I wanted to mention, and then maybe we can go through the package, is that, of course, this won't solve every problem overnight. And the important thing to remember is that even with the formula for miracles, you don't always get to pick the miracles. The miracles will pick you. That's critical, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're really fixated on getting one particular change in your life in one particular way, in one particular time frame, you know, it might happen. It very well might. But usually the people that are disappointed are inevitably those that either don't use it, or they're so fixated on getting a particular change in a particular way on a particular timetable that no matter how many other incredible things happen in their life, they're so attached to that and so in resistance to it that it makes impossible for anything to change. So that's why, like in my life training classes, I actually offer 110% miracle money-back guarantee, which I think is pretty bold. And I'll say, you know what, you come to my class, you practice this and use it for 6 months, and at least make an effort to clear your blocks with me. And if you haven't seen a miracle happen for you or someone you've worked on, you can get all your money back and 10% for your trouble. But there's one important piece there, which is you don't get to pick those miracles. Right?
Yeah,
if you work on a lot of people on a lot of issues, I guarantee miracles will happen, right? That's why I say that you don't always get to pick your miracles. Sometimes you can. Usually the miracles pick you. And if you don't get the miraculous magic wand, don't worry. When you've programmed your subconscious for wealth, for happiness, for prosperity, for love, it will happen. There just may be some work involved, right? For me, my frozen elbow healed instantly in the first session, and it never gave me trouble again. But all the chronic pain I was in and the depression and the money struggles, that didn't heal instantly. But with more clearing and more time and more work, it all did. So, you know, that's again, I'm an engineer. I want to be very clear about exactly what I'm offering so there's no misunderstanding or miscommunication. And I am confident that it may sound too good to be true, but most of the feedback I get from customers who get these products say, oh my gosh, Brent, not only is it everything you said, it's actually more. But I don't want to be so over the top with the hyping it that you don't believe it's real.
But, you know, sometimes the miracles that we get are miracles that we never even thought or were possible, right? They're even better than we thought about, you know?
Right, exactly. That's why I say the miracles pick you.
Yeah.
If you're okay with that, you're going to love this stuff. So you want to go
open.
through the items in the package?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a fantastic package. I mean, it's $97, and the value is $1,287. And just you talking about all those blocks, those clearing 327 blocks to prosperity and financial success. That alone is worth way more than $97.
Yeah,
it's like you're practically giving it away.
Yeah, it's just one piece, but I'm okay with giving it away because people need this.
Mm-hmm.
They really do. So you want to give the URL one more time for anybody that's on the phone, and then we'll go through it?
Yeah, so it's awakentohappinessnow.com/Brent, and click on the special offer, and you'll be there.
Yes, so as mentioned, I try to package together an enormous amount of stuff and make it really cheap because I want everyone to try it and see that this really works. And so the centerpiece of the package is the one we talked about, Unleash Your Inner Millionaire. It's been my most popular best-selling product. And that's it's about an 8-hour audio that will basically give you everything you really need to know about the law of attraction, show you the truth about it, and clear 327 of the most common blocks to prosperity. You'll also get both of my books. You'll get Where Science Meets Spirit, The Formula for Miracles, which is a very simple step-by-step explanation of how energy healing and the law of attraction work. So if that's of interest to you, I think you'll love the book. It explains it in very simple language. And you'll see that there really is science behind this. It's just that the science has been slow to catch up, but it's getting very close. You also get my book, Spiritual Weight Loss, which I designed as one-stop shopping for everything you ever need to know, because after being overweight for most of my life, I finally cracked the code. And I learned how to lose weight, reverse aging, achieve optimal health through a combination of emotional clearing with the subconscious, as well as some cleansing and just some very basic common sense guidelines for nutrition and exercise, calorie cycling, and all that. So that should be everything you ever need to know. You'll also get the trauma clearing meditation, which I mentioned. And so for blocks that don't clear right away, you can go and use the trauma clearing to go deeper, and that should take care of it most of the time. And it's also an amazing tool to use because most of us are chock full of traumas by the time we're adults. If you want to spend the rest of your life carrying around all your traumas, you're welcome to. Or you can try this and listen to it a few times and clear the stuff out and be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
It also includes the Deep Theta meditation, which is a 15 and a 45-minute meditation that will entrain you to a deep theta state. Very useful for relaxation. It will turbocharge any intuitive work you do, any healing work, any visualization, make it much more powerful to do it from theta. You'll also get a discount coupon to the live training class. So if anyone's interested in coming and doing a live training with me and learning how to do this, you'll get a little more than half off. You'll also get the audiobook for Where Science Meets Spirit. You'll also get my allergy clearing meditation. And I have to admit, I created that because I just got bored out of my mind healing allergies all day. Because I got so successful at it, and I started getting so many referrals of people who had allergies that I find myself spending hours a day running through the same process over and over again, and it drove me nuts. And
right now, more and more people are
yes.
talking about allergies even more. I mean, where I live, people didn't have allergies before. Now suddenly, more and more people are getting allergies.
Absolutely. And most of the time, you can very quickly clear them in the subconscious. As with everything here, it's not 100%. I can't guarantee it's going to clear everything on the first try. But I have found most of my customers report about an 80 to 90% success rate with one run. And that goes up higher if you include the trauma clearing afterwards. So that's a great tool. And I did that out of my own self-interest. I just got bored with clearing allergies all day. Didn't want to do it anymore. So that's there. You'll also get the Secrets of Muscle Testing video, which we mentioned earlier, everything you ever need to know about muscle testing. And you'll also get a coupon to my VIP club. And so I want to call this out because there's a ton of stuff in the package. And honestly, any one of these items could make an enormous difference in your life. It really is that powerful. And the VIP club is so easy to overlook because there's so much stuff in the package. Most people are like, one more thing. It's a coupon. I got to go online. Okay, it's too hard, right? Please at least take a look. Because over the long run, this VIP club, I think it will be the most powerful and most transformative piece of the package and possibly of anything you've ever done. And that's because for the last about 3 years, I poured much of my own time and energy and research into the VIP club because it's my inner circle of people who are really serious about seeing changes in their lives, who are sick of wasting our money on things that don't work, but don't necessarily have a lot of time or a lot of money to spend on this, but they need to change. And so every month in the VIP Club, I do a series of live events. I do a wealth club every month, love clubs, health clubs. I give away private sessions that I do through teleseminars so everyone can listen and follow along and get clearing. And everyone that stays in the club will eventually get their hour-long free private with me. I also create special event material every single month from scratch. And I'm always researching and reading books and working with healers and therapists and going to classes to find the best of the best. And I put a lot of work in every month to digest that down to a set of very easy-to-read and assimilate articles and videos on different topics to show you exactly what you need to get changes in your life. And so right now we're in the middle of an event on brain optimization. For anyone that wants to learn how to get their brain in balance and get the chemical pathways working right so you can feel good all the time and have energy and have clarity and get restful sleep. And, so that's very easy to do if you know how, so that's an event. We've done some on, a popular one was 7 Steps to Happiness, which is just 7 basic things you need to know to get more happy in your life. So those are examples of the VIP Club events I do every month. We've done some on addiction and anger and fear, on various common health problems. It goes on and on and on. And so also there's private forums that I answer every day. You get discounts on private sessions. You get early beta access to my new products. You get discounts on training classes. And I also have some more advanced material that I'm not quite ready to release to the general public that is only available in the VIP Club, like my Awakening series. That's not for beginners. So if you're interested and you're really serious and you want to work on the high levels, it's probably exactly what you need.
Yeah, that sounds really intriguing.
Yes, and so there's a lot of recorded stuff. The 30-day trial is for the bronze level, which is the basic, which most people come in at. In case anyone's curious, if you want more, there is a silver level, which gives you access to everything I've ever done. It's literally hundreds and hundreds of articles and videos and recorded calls going back several years. So, you can you're getting me for about 25 cents an hour there.
Pretty cheap.
And so, yes, there's a lot of recorded calls, and of course, it's all backed up by 100% money-back guarantee. And so if you don't like it or you don't use it or you don't feel you got results, no hard feelings. Especially for people struggling with money, I think that's important. Because, again, there's a lot of junk out there. There's a lot of people online peddling a lot of crap. But I know from my experience that my customers are very happy and I have a very low return rate. The most common reason cited for why people don't like it is they just say, Brent, there's so much material here, I'm not sure where to start, and I'm overwhelmed. So I just want to say it's okay to take your time. You don't have to go through everything all at once, right?
But there is a lot of information here.
Yes, there's a huge amount of material in there because I wanted to put so much material in there that if you actually have if you're actually willing to go through at least some of it, it will be enough to make a change for almost everybody.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I wouldn't mind at all if you want to hop over to my website and buy all the stuff a la carte off my e-commerce site. That would be great because I'd make about $1,300.
I was going to say it's a bit more expensive than the $97 here.
Yes. So anybody that has tons of money and you want to give me a big thank you because you like my work, you're more than welcome to go do that. And that would be awesome. You'll make my day. If not, if you're struggling with money or you have a budget or you're not sure about it, you're welcome to take advantage of the $97 offer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was looking at this offer when you first sent it to me, and it's like, wow, there's just so much stuff here that is helpful. It's going to help people for sure. I mean, just the unleashing your inner millionaire, that alone, clearing all those blocks is going to make a big difference in people's lives if they use it. And one of the questions I had for you about that was, can this be something that you can listen to while you're sleeping, or you have to consciously be doing it?
It's the deep state of meditation is something you can use when you're sleeping, but you will get more benefit out of it if you're awake.
Right. Okay.
And so most of the good change happens when you're in a waking theta state. What that means is your brain is in the brainwave state it's in when it's asleep and dreaming while you're awake. And so it will bring you into sort of a waking trance state. It's like a twilight state.
Right. Yeah.
And so you'll be sort of awake and asleep at the same time.
Yeah, okay.
And if you're not used to it, if you do it when you're really tired, you might fall asleep. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just don't do this when you're driving, right?
No, please do not use this when you're driving. Now, like if you want to listen to the audiobook when you're driving or the lecture programs, fine, no problem there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But please do not use any of the subconscious reprogramming codes while you're driving because it'll put you into a trance state, and that's very dangerous.
Yeah.
So, all the rest of it, the audiobook, the lectures, no problem. But if you're working with the subconscious, you need to be in a place where you can be relaxed and ideally won't have too many distractions, right? It's not going to ruin it if your kids come in.
Mm-hmm.
But, you don't want to be driving or in in the middle of a meeting at work where someone might ask you questions, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For me, I just find this to be really like a no-brainer. Like, it's really simple to use, really simple to understand, like, why wouldn't anybody get this if they're struggling with money, for example, or if they have allergies, and we all have trauma that we are not even aware of anymore. We've buried it deep within our mind, right? So a lot of this stuff, to me, it seems really easy and simple, and because just doing the mental testing today on the show, with just those few little questions, it's like, wow, that was easy, that was quick, that didn't take much at all.
I think probably the most common reason someone wouldn't try this is it sounds too good to be true.
Yeah, but I
don't know. That's why we offer the money-back guarantee.
Absolutely.
If you think it's not real, I'm going to call you on that. Get the package, download it. You're going to be blown away.
I was looking at all the testimonials about the different areas that this has helped, and it's like almost everything you possibly think of, this has been able to take care of.
Yep, because it's all created by your mind.
Yeah, it's like, wow. I get migraines, so it's like, ooh, that's something I can use. And I think I'm starting to get neck strain and stuff like that from being on the computer too long. So I'm like, oh, we need to work on that. But, we all have these kinds of things, and sometimes, like, I didn't know about this before I started doing this telesummit, right? So there are lots of people that would not know of you and what you do and your program. So, it's like, now I know, and it's like, why wouldn't I try this for $97 with a 100% money back guarantee? And all I have to do is stand there and ask a question, and that's it,
Well, I found that what it all really boils down to is that for all of us, we have a choice.
Yes.
We can either choose to be right about what we think we know, or we can change and allow miracles into our lives.
Absolutely.
You can't really have both. And so anyone that wants to stay and be right about what they think they know, that their situation is hopeless, that this doesn't work, or that it's a scam, you're welcome to do that if you want. That's okay. You have free will.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I have found that all the really amazing changes that happened in my life have all happened because I was willing to let that go. I was willing to be wrong about what I thought I knew, and incredible things happened. As I mentioned in the beginning, when my life really took its first nosedive in 1998, the first dark night of the soul, I got really into positive thinking, but it didn't change anything. And I decided that my positive thinking didn't work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't until years later that I was willing to be wrong about that. Because if I had held on to that, I never would have had a session with Terry. I never would have learned to use the subconscious reprogramming. I never would have had my elbow heal. I never would have created a new life for myself. I'd still be in pain. I'd still be broke. I probably would have killed myself by now, to be perfectly honest.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I was willing to be wrong about that. I was willing to say, you know what? Maybe there's something here I don't understand. I used to be a confirmed agnostic. I was like, religion is a bunch of bunk, and atheists are stupid because no good scientist could ever be an atheist because you can't prove a negative, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I'm an agnostic because I'm not convinced that God exists because all the solutions I've seen don't work. They're not internally consistent. They don't ring true to me. But then I was willing to be wrong about that. And so here I am, an energy healer, a computer nerd, very much an engineer, a scientist, and a rationalist, and I teach people how to do intuitive readings and heal their bodies and minds. Yep, never would have happened if I had chosen instead to be right about what I thought I knew.
That is quite a change. I mean, honestly, listening to your story, you're such an inspiration for people to realize that, you know what, give something a chance. Don't just hold on to the past or what you have right now. If you want change in your life, do something different. And that's what you did by going to, like, you've tried everything, you know. And
yeah, I admit I did it because I was desperate.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm sure some of the listeners may be in that same situation.
Absolutely.
When your life is more or less working, most of us aren't willing to make a change. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we have horrible problems. That's why we have incurable diseases and heartbreaks and financial disasters, because those make us desperate enough to be willing to be wrong about what we think we know. And that's usually when the miracles show up.
Yeah. Absolutely. And miracles do happen every day. You just have to be open to them and willing to receive them. And, you know, for me, it's all about gratitude for all the stuff that you do have and in the universe, and then you'll see that, you know, once you're in that state of gratitude, and I think that state of gratitude is more of an energetic state anyways, you know,
Yes.
and once you're in that state, miracles do happen, you know, like you're just more happier all the time, and then things show up in your life that you've been wanting but didn't really expect to get, but because you're more and more into that state, you're more receptive to it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
right. It does. Of course, the kicker is that if you just do gratitude in the conscious mind, congratulations, you've activated 1% of your mind power.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing I keep forgetting about is the subconscious.
Right.
Like, yes, that's
if you
what's
can
holding
get your
everybody back.
subconscious mind into gratitude, you're going to be blown away by what happens.
Yeah, and that's why this program will help, because it deals with the subconscious mind and the beliefs and systems that we have already programmed, and how to get rid of them or change them. You know. Change them to how you want your life to be.
Yeah. It's not going to be the be-all, end-all solution to every problem, but for a lot of people, it is the missing link.
Yeah, I'm getting this aha moment. You know, it's like, aha!
This is the missing piece. This is what I've been missing. So, yeah it was for me, and it is for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. Just reading these testimonials is like, I'm like, this is amazing, you know, and of course, you know, no guarantee, but try it, you know. I mean, if you want change, and, you know, like Brent talked about the 2 codes for happiness that we did today, and, you know, and the muscle testing, which is so easy to do now that I've done it a couple of times, you know, it's like, these are tools that we can use every day, and that's what this summit is about, is awakening you to happiness, right? And using tools and processes that you can use every day to be happier, to change your life for the better, you know. So
yep.
The website again for Brent's special offer, and I know I'm gushing because I just really like it, you know, is awakentohappinessnow.com/Brent, and then click on special offer. I just for me, this looks like a no-brainer, you know. I mean, it's so easy, and you don't have to do anything except just, you know, do the muscle testing and then ask a question and then say yes, you know, for, you know, getting your permission to, you know, do the clearing, and that's it. You know, how that is so simple. I love simple. I love easy, you know.
I wish I could make it simpler, but that's the best I've been able to do so far.
No, that's pretty simple, and I really like that. And, you know, just knowing that, you know, you're a computer programmer, engineer, you know, a nerd, like you said, a computer nerd, these things are logical, you know, so they're not hocus pocus, they're not woo-woo, they're not, you know, anything out there, you know, because a lot of people are still not really sure about all the energy stuff, right? But this is easy. This makes sense. So I know I'm not supposed to recommend anything because I'm supposed to be, you know, unbiased and so on, but I like this program, you know. I mean, I'm going to try it, and no, not just try it. I'm going to do it because there's no try, right? So I'm just going to do it because I know it's going to make a difference. I know it's going to change my reality, and it's easy because I like that.
Yep, it's that easy.
Yeah. So Brent, do you have any last words, any parting words for our listeners?
You know, I would say that make your choice. You can either be right about what you think you know, or you can allow in some change and experience some miracles.
Absolutely.
So up to you. You know, it's up to you. I try to make it as easy and as simple and as cheap as possible. And from my perspective, this is probably worth at least 100 times what I charge for it. Because learning this stuff and putting it together took me many, many years, cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I don't want everyone to have to go through that.
Yeah.
So you can do it the hard way like I did, and that's okay.
No, we don't want to do it the hard way.
Or you can do it the easy way. Yeah, either way. You know, everyone has a choice. So,
exactly.
I put it out there, and hopefully you can get through all this much faster, easier, more cheaply than I did.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Thank you so much, Brent. It's just been an honor to have you here, and I want to thank the listeners for staying with us and listening. And, go to the website, check out the offer. If it resonates with you, try it out and see how that goes. Honestly, I have really enjoyed it. So, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I thank you again for being with me and joining us, and I will see you again tomorrow. So,
All right.
have a good night, everyone. Thank you, Brent.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.